Welcome to another exciting episode of Comic Watchers. Comic Watchers is brought to you by Comic Watch. Comic Watch is your source for all your comic book and media news and reviews written by fans for fans. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter and let the clickbait sites know we're coming for them. As you can see, we're almost back to full strength. We have Brian back with us. I'm your host, Cody, and here's the rest of the gang.
Hey, this is Brian from a very busy office in Tucson, Arizona.
John Jack, Seattle.
This is Matt coming at you from Oklahoma City.
So now, thankfully, we have our newsman back, so we can stop fumbling our way through the news. Brian, what's the word on the street?
Yeah, so
not that Matt didn't do a good job.
I bit my tongue on that.
Yeah, so I guess we got a bunch of movie news, and I do apologize. I guess there's an echo in my office, so if you guys hear it on YouTube, I'm sorry, but we'll just continue to manage through it. Free Comic Book Day this May 4th. I believe that there's a new Avengers book out. The Dark Knight and the Man of Steel will be joining forces in Batman-Superman title this August, fighting the Secret Six. Gabriel Luna will reprise his role as Ghost Rider on Hulu's new series that was just announced. It will also accompany Hellstorm. And Suicide Squad movie news, the Polka Dot Man, really, will be joining James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. And I'm just going to say David D will be taking the role because I'm not even going to try his last name. I apologize in advance, but that's where we're at right now.
Awesome. Yeah, Polka Dot Man. So he'll be dead quickly. That's cool. Enjoy that brief role. David D.
I remember when they cast Adam Beach as Slipknot, which is cool because Adam Beach is like a legit awesome Navajo actor. And then my wife was actually kind of excited because we're native, and she was like, wow, Adam Beach got a big movie role, and then 5 minutes of the movie's head post.
So we've got a pretty exciting lineup for you guys, sort of, kind of. We've got 3 spotlight books this week. We're going to be looking at DCeased #1 from Tom Taylor and Trevor Hairsine. We'll be looking at the second arc of Gideon Falls, which is coming to you from Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. And finally, Savage Avengers from Jerry Dugan and Mike Deodato Jr.
It is worth noting for the two of you that follow us from week to week, we have shifted format to, instead of talking about last week's books, we will be talking about this week's books. Be aware that this podcast may contain some minor spoilers, but should not be anything too monumental for current books. If you haven't read a book yet, you might learn something you didn't know, but you might be okay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So we've started recording on Wednesdays, so we are coming right at things with a fresh perspective on day of release. So there will likely be some spoilers, although we're going to try to keep ourselves mostly under control. So why don't we start with DCeased? DCeased. So this is an out-of-continuity, essentially zombie apocalypse tale from Tom Taylor. This will involve all the major players in the DC universe. We see it starting as sourced in the Anti-Life Equation that has somehow been turned viral and spread via screens on Earth. Like, what did they say, 600 million or something like that right off the bat infected. Some of your favorite heroes are likely to die in this. Basically, Tom Taylor has been given carte blanche, out of continuity. He can do whatever the hell he wants, and he's going to do it. So nobody is safe. There are no sacred cows here. I thought the first issue was fun. It was cool. It does a lot of setup work, and it doesn't really, to me, really get to anything really major. I mean, the very final couple of pages, like there's some big things happening, but it's nothing that wasn't unexpected. Like if you follow Tom Taylor on Twitter, he's been talking about this project for a hot minute now. And, interacting with fans, like, who do you want to see die? And most people on Twitter said Batman. We want to see Batman dead. So that's kind of where this book is coming from. I wasn't super hot on the art, although I think it kind of fits where it's trying to go, but it looks like it looks more rushed than it has any business looking. Like it's a little bit jagged around the edges for a book that's been in the works for a hot minute and has been completed. Like the first issue's been done for a while, so it's not like, you know, there was a big time crunch to get it out today. It's been done. So I mean, that's just the style they're going for, and that's fine. You know, to each their own. I'm glad that they got what they wanted. So why don't we kick this over to JJ?
I thought I've read DCeased #1 3 times at this point, and all in all, I think it's fine. I'm not super impressed. I don't think it's taking a lot of risks in a lot of ways, but it was interesting basing it off the anti-life equation and mixing, the black racer in to make it the anti-death equation. That's kind of silly. It kind of makes sense, and I liked Darkseid was. It's pretty funny. I do have a prediction, which is that there's a couple, like almost 2 pages focusing on, wait a minute, Batman has a tracker device in Cyborg? Batman has a tracking device in Cyborg? Why does he have a tracking device in Cyborg? And I think it's all going to come down to finding Patient Zero in the hopes of being able to reverse this somehow, which will involve probably a trip to the Batcave, which might not be the safest place. As of now, we haven't seen any superpowered heroes infected. So one thing I'm curious about is if the superpowered heroes who are infected will continue to have their superpowers a la Marvel Zombies, or if they might not. I do think it's a bit reminiscent of, and it's a regrettable thing to reference ever, but the Stephen King story Cell that was made into a movie with John Cusack, which was a similar thing where anybody looking at their phone when a certain signal was sent out became a zombie. So pretty similar setup. I thought it was fine. I agree that I wasn't super hot on the art, but I wasn't super hot on the whole thing, so it was fine. What did you think about it, Arby, since you're back?
I am back, but I wasn't able to read any of the books yet, so I'm going to hand this over to Matt.
Okay, so I think I enjoyed this book a little bit more than either of you guys did, and especially you, Brian. Mainly because my expectations were actually kind of low going into this. My initial response was to be a grumpy old fan and say, well, I read this story 10 years ago and it was called Blackest Night. But this is definitely, other than zombies, this is a completely different kind of story. And it takes some fun twists. I personally got a real kick out of the anti-life equation being twisted around and becoming the catalyst for this tech-fueled zombie apocalypse, which is a not so subtle commentary, I think, on Tom Taylor's part about our obsession with our cell phones. And I don't want to get too spoilery, but let's just say that we as readers are accustomed to Batman saving the day all the time. Batman has a plan. And without getting into too many details, that's most definitely what does not happen. So I think that was actually a good twist on reader expectations. As for the art, I'm not a big Trevor Hairsine fan. I feel like in general, his art, like you were saying, Cody, looks really rough, and I think he inks way, way too heavily. I think perhaps that might be to disguise some of the rougher line work, although I'm not an artist, so I can only speculate on that. But I think it really fit this story, though. And just some of the visuals in there, like the bit about random people trying to claw the equation out of their heads and, you know, raking these deep furrows in their flesh was just an awesome visual. I loved that. So, you know, my hat's off to Trevor Hairsine for making this story look really gritty and visceral and just really gnarly. I would say, honestly, if it does have a comic book counterpart, it's a lot closer to Marvel Zombies than it would have been Blackest Night. Although this series just goes for the throat, whereas the hell? Okay, I found this on the web. That was super weird, guys. My Siri just came on completely unasked and started talking to me. Anyway, God, I lost my train of thought completely. Oh yeah, Marvel Zombies was just bonkers, and this goes straight for the jugular. So yeah, very enjoyable. Don't think too hard about it. Go in, have a good time. Cody, over to you.
Yeah, so I mean, to that point about the potential social commentary on, you know, 21st century screen obsession, et cetera, like one of the kind of calling cards that Tom Taylor has made himself known for is writing social commentary into his narratives, and he does so very well. X-Men Red was just so superb. And I kind of expect that to be a kind of a central theme as we move throughout. It just didn't really manifest in anything other than this is the spark that lit the fire. So I mean, yeah, it was fun. It's really well written. He does distinct voices better than anybody in the business, maybe anybody ever in the business. Like, I can close my eyes and hear the voice of the characters that he's putting dialogue into. Like, I can differentiate different characters by the way they talk. And that's, I mean, remarkable. He does a really great job of that. Like, you can tell the difference between the way Damian talks and the way that Jonathan talks. And that's something definitely worth pointing out. As far as visuals, like you were saying, they didn't do anything particularly remarkable with page layout, which I wanted to transition, because, you know, you've got people looking at all these screens, like they could do some really cool visual things as far as, you know, the interaction with the screens and the multitude of things happening all at once. And I'd like to use that to transition into Gideon Falls, which does an exceptional job at doing exactly that. So this is the second arc in Gideon Falls. I would try to sum up the story for you, but I just don't think it's doable. This is a story that you really need to read to be able to grasp. I mean, the general premise is you've got a town, Gideon Falls, with a mystery, and you've got a city, Gideon Falls, with a mystery. And they are not the same place. They do not have the same characters, but they are also occupying the same space in maybe some form of multiverse. This starts to delve a little bit deeper into that, although having read it, like it's really kind of hard to grasp. It's still so nebulous after the second arc as to where they're going, why they're doing what they're doing. We know that there's a monster lurking in the darkness. There's always a monster lurking in the darkness. Jeff Lemire is writing this. He likes the darkness monster. Like that's one of his things. Look at his Animal Man. Look at virtually everything he's done. I'm not as high on it as I know Matt and JJ are, but it's a really strong book. And Andrea Sorrentino's art is phenomenal. Like, it is, like I said about Cover and David Mack's work, like, this is a study in form. You know, he's doing things with his layouts. He's twisting you around. He's breaking things apart and putting them back together in the wrong order. Like, it's really remarkable in terms of form. And that's kind of my quick take on Gideon Falls Volume 2. Over to Matt.
Gideon Falls Volume 2. I absolutely love this book. It doesn't happen often that a writer and artist are just so perfectly in sync. I mean, yeah, we can all name them pretty quickly through, and in short order throughout the history of the comics medium, but something about Lemire and Sorrentino, just, they click perfectly. I loved them on Green Arrow. They did some incredibly remarkable things there, and separately, I mean, I'm hit or miss with both of them. It's just is what it is. I think Sorrentino needs to be with a writer that knows how to play to his strengths. But Lemire, he's hit or miss. I think he's a lot stronger when he's writing in his own voice rather than Justice League or X-Men, etc. And so, all that together has the makings of a really strong book. And that's what Gideon Falls is. It's a unique, singular book with a very specific story and artistic vision that it has. Like Cody said, it's mystery wrapped within mystery within enigma, and there's a lot of vague things going on, and it's up to us as readers to interpret them correctly or not. But the big hook on this for me is just the way that the art so perfectly conveys the atmosphere of this story. Everything has just this creepy undercurrent to it that just gives the book makes the book kind of goosebumps in given page, so to speak. It's not going to be for everyone. This is not necessarily a character-driven book by any means. This is a narrative-driven book. I stole your word, Cody. But it's worth checking out. Gideon Falls to me gets some of the highest ratings I could give of any current indie books that are out there right now. JJ, what do you think about it?
Gideon Falls, as you said, is one of my favorite current indie books. The horror aspects have taken a real center stage in these last couple issues, especially. We've gone 2 issues without seeing either of our main characters, which is really interesting. And I love that it has become rooted in a experiment to find a multiverse, which is so super interesting. And just these last couple issues have shown that the future of this book might not be horror, it might be an exploration, which is so interesting to me. And there's worlds to explore, and there's, even if it's just variations on the town, we've gotten 2, and I loved the most recent one. It showed that they've begun to make a multiverse map. That is so interesting. Imagine, the multiverse map in DC, the 52 universes. Someone had to discover there were 52 universes. Imagine following that person's saga. That would be so amazing. And I know Trey, another one of our writers, and I have always said that, our dream series would be, for DC, would be just Tales of the Multiverse set within the Multiversity. Morrison did some of them within Multiversity, but there's a good 40 universes that were never explored. There's multiple other books. Peter Cannon Thunderbolt right now is also exploring the concept of the multiverse, which is so interesting. Just it's a super interesting, really cool concept that I'm so into. And I like the idea that they tapped into the multiverse and they found something that was hiding in, the cracks between universes or what have you. And it's bugs. It's bugs hiding in the cracks between universes, and they've formed some kind of hive mind. That's genius. And Lemire can be just so painfully slow at times. And I feel like this series, the pacing of it has been one of the more even books I've seen him do. I'm a little hit and miss on Lemire series in general. This one and Descender are the ones that have really kind of hooked me just from the get-go. And, you know, as Matt said again, I don't think I can give him any higher praise. Arby, did you read it, or should I pass over to Cody? Pass over to Cody.
So yeah, I don't want it to come off as like I didn't enjoy this. I really do enjoy this book. I just wouldn't recommend it to most people. Like, it takes a certain kind of reader to enjoy this book. I'm not going to give this book to, one of my friends from high school and say, "Hey, you've been missing out on this book your whole life." Like, no, it's not that book. But it is a really sharp book. Sorry, Brian just asked if everyone had seen Avengers. And no, I have not. Right, so our last book, speaking of Avengers, is Savage Avengers. This is Jerry Dugan writing. It's Mike Deodato on art. My mama told me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I'm going to kick this back to JJ because I don't have anything nice to say about this book.
As we saw at the end of No Road Home, Conan in the epilogue to No Road Home, as we talked about last week, probably last week, maybe the week before, I don't know. What day is it? But Conan ended up in the Savage Land following the dissolution of Nyx's spell, rather than being sent back to the Hyborian Age. So we open on a cult, possibly the Hand. They said the Hand, but they didn't necessarily look like the Hand, or act like the Hand, or do any Hand kind of things. Hand. But yeah, they didn't act like the Hand at all, but it was the Hand allegedly trying to resurrect some kind of god. I forgot the god's name, who would take them to a 10th planet beyond Pluto to his temple for reasons. I don't know. Conan found out there was treasure or something, and he's going after the treasure. He's killing a bunch of Hand goons and runs into Wolverine, of all people. I will say the panel where Wolverine was introduced was hilarious, because Conan's killing people, then clunk! And you turn, and his sword is embedded in Wolverine's head, but obviously his adamantium skull stopped it. So I thought that was pretty funny. But Conan and Wolverine fight, and it's all very exciting. Ends in Conan's sword being chopped to pieces by Wolverine, and then they decide they're friends apparently, and then go into the temple to find Conan to find his amulet, Logan to find Brother Voodoo, I guess, who had previously been kidnapped by the Hand. Apparently, from the way we saw things, Logan finds Brother Voodoo. I won't tell you any more about that. But the Hand has kidnapped Punisher's, or not kidnapped, she's dead. They took Punisher's wife's skeleton to draw the Punisher out because they need more death. They need mighty warriors to be sacrificed to draw this god out. I don't know. It was fine. I thought it was a good enough time. Jerry Dugan doesn't always write the best dialogue, and that's pretty evidenced by Conan saying he's of Samaria and Logan saying he's of Pabst, which is one of the dumber jokes I've ever heard, but it's still kind of funny in like a dad joke kind of way. What the frog say to the bunny? Ribbit. Jack likes that joke. That's my son. He's 4. But yeah, he might like it if I said I was from beer. But I think that's dumb. All in all, I don't hate the idea of Conan being sucked into the Savage Land. I don't necessarily love the idea of him being thrust for the second time in 2 months into a random team of Avengers. obviously Marvel just got the license back, I guess 5 months ago. Now that it's May, but you know, they're already beating this. They're already recycling a storyline essentially. um, but I don't know. I didn't hate the way they brought Conan into the present age in the Savage Land. I would like to see Conan in the Savage Land more than I would like to see him teaming up with the Savage Avengers, who most of them don't appear in the book that are on the cover, which is usually a huge red mark from me on when I write reviews. Usually at least 2 points down on the cover score, 2 full points down. So, and not to mention, there's characters on the cover like Venom. Venom doesn't have a suit right now. Punisher. Punisher's at war with Zemo in Bialia right now. Wolverine. Wolverine's doing some. He's in upstate New York, living in Harry's Hideaway. None of these characters are doing anything that ties into anything else. Granted, it isn't clear when this is happening continuity-wise, but I hate it when, like, Captain America's in prison with no costume in his book and he's running around like nothing's happening in the Avengers. It just bothers me. Synergy isn't that difficult to do, and it makes it's so rewarding as a comic reader to be reading one book and then have something be apparently important universe-wide. Like, even little things like Doctor Strange using new spells that he crafted in the first arc of Mark Waid's current series. That's cool. That's awesome. That makes me feel like it was worth reading a book I bought.
Well, and not to totally hijack you, but
you're good.
If you've had a chance at this point to read any Marvel books, you'll see that this month they've updated the Stan Soapbox. So they've got a Stan Soapbox from July of 1968 in which he's responding to fans saying, back in 1968, like, oh my God, there's so many books. It's too expensive. I can't read everything. And Stan defending that, saying, but we're going to give you everything you want. We have made a commitment to give you everything you want. And they still are doing that, except for everybody wants many, many, many more things as this universe has expanded. So Marvel is still committed to, if you'll pay for it, we will give it to you, with no responsibility for the consequences of that. There's no care for flooding the market. They don't have any problem with that. You want this book 2 times a month? We'll give it to you 2 times a month. You'll buy it? All right, we'll give it to you. So, I mean, that's how you end up with stuff like Savage Avengers, where it's like, you know what we want? I don't know. Meet the Skrulls is a totally different feeling book than anything else I've ever read. Like, really, it's
a niche book, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. I get the feeling that was like a pet project to somebody.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say. But no, like specifically things like Savage Avengers, things like the string of Web of Venom one-shots. Yeah. You know, things that we don't need. Nobody
Which
needs.
Are slowly declining in quality.
Right. We have a current Venom series, right? So people that want Venom are getting Venom. Now people that want Venom on a team, I don't know who those people are, but apparently they exist, and they're getting it. And they're getting him on a team with Punisher and Wolverine, because we like to see Punisher and Wolverine together. And I don't know what Brother Voodoo is doing there. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And
nobody wants Brother Voodoo ever.
And I think Rick Remender called in a favor just because he was like, hey, come on, guys.
You have the opportunity. You've got Conan in the 616. I get that they want to put him with people, but you've got him in the Savage Land. Put him with Kazar. How awesome would a series about Conan and Kazar and some kind of love triangle with Sheena of the Jungle in there, like killing dinosaurs, stomping on crocodiles, hanging from pterodactyls? Like, you've got everything you need already. We don't need these bullshit exchanges by Crom. Fuck you, Conan. Like, all of this crap with Wolverine was so hackneyed. Like, it was just not good. I'm sorry. I wasn't going to say anything bad, but then I got to thinking, and then
No, you're not wrong.
No.
No. Yeah, like I said, I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was anything mind-blowing. I'd probably put it on the same... Sorry. Technical difficulties. My headphones fell off. I'd put it on the same pantheon as... Or on the same level as DCeased in a way. Because the opposite of DCeased, though, where... DCeased, I liked the story okay and didn't like the art that much. This one, I'm not a huge fan of the way it's written, but I thought the art was pretty good. As Ross said, our press master, bad Diodato art is still better than most art. And I don't think this is bad Diodato art, but it's not his best.
I said that. I said that.
All right, I'll give it to you. Cody said that. Cody's not just that drunk uncle we have, I guess. Matt, what did you think of it?
Well, I didn't like it, and I will try to make points about why I didn't like it that you guys haven't already. Also start with the art. I actually didn't have very many problems with the art. I felt like it was a more restrained version of Diodato than we've seen in a while. Like, nobody had hands the size of their head, so that was cool. And I mean, with Conan, he's the kind of character that Diodato traditionally would do that sort of thing with, which I don't mind. I love the man's style, and I feel like he maybe just wanted to get one more paycheck out of Marvel before he swung away to go make another Barbarian comic with Jeff Lemire at Dark Horse. So, you know, the art, not my circle of life. Art, not really my problem. I think that anybody's enjoyment on this series is going to hinge on whether or not you like Jerry Duggan, whether or not you can accept Conan hanging out in the 616, and whether or not you can let go of the fact that in terms of continuity, this story makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. I mean, you guys touched on it. I'm not going to beat a dead horse or anything, but God, the continuity is a wreck, an absolute train wreck. I feel like these characters were thrown together by some assistant editor that time traveled forward from 1993 and said, shit, I forgot to include Ghost Rider. So they just grabbed Dr. Voodoo or Brother Voodoo instead. Yeah, the exchanges between Wolverine and Conan were just overwrought. The plot, it is what it is. It's an excuse to get these characters together. And it really just didn't do anything for me. Like, I don't understand why this book exists outside of monetizing the fact that Marvel has Conan now. And I hate to sound like these bitchy Conan purists out there that like to pick fights with JJ, but
I've spent
guys. Everything that Matt just said got lost. My internet dropped out. I'm so sorry, man. My internet dropped out, and I couldn't do I couldn't communicate with you guys. Like, so y'all were just talking, and it wasn't recording.
Oh, man.
But we're back up now.
Okay, do you know about where it cut off?
Right when you started talking about Savage Avengers,
if I were you, Matt, I'd just start over and tell Derbs to cut to the start of you talking.
Yeah. Oh man, that sucks. Okay,
sorry about that.
I'll try to make it a little more linear. I did not like this book, and I'm going to try to find ways to say that I did not like this book that aren't just beating a dead horse and rehashing what you guys have already said. Because I don't have the benefit of whiskey either with me going on right now. But this book really just exists because Marvel wants to monetize and capitalize upon the fact that they've got the Conan license back and he's hanging out in the 616. So why not throw him in a book with the word Avengers on it, even though this is clearly not an Avengers team? Why not have him hanging out with Wolverine? And let's just
another book with Avengers on the cover.
Yes, yes. Good call out. I mean, not that this is the first time they've ever done that by any stretch of the imagination, but that in and of itself kind of speaks to what Cody was saying regarding Marvel just flooding whatever out there as long as somebody buys it. And that's terrible. And I hate to say that because, you know, I've traditionally been a Marvel guy first and foremost. But yeah, I mean, this garbage like this is just, nobody asked for this. And it clogs up the stands. And, you know, 8 issues from now, it'll probably be replaced by some event comic related Frankenstein's monster. I don't know. But I don't care for Jerry Duggan as a writer. And I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but I don't want to bash him because I think in terms of plot, he can come up with good ideas. It's his general execution that bugs me because I can read any Jerry Duggan comic in about 2 minutes because he puts so few words on the page. And it drives me nuts. Absolutely nuts as a reader. I want to feel like I'm getting my money's worth when I pick up a comic. You know, if it takes less than 5 minutes for me to read the comic, unless it's the G.I. Joe silent issue, I'm not going to feel like I got my money's worth out of it. And that's every single Jerry Duggan comic I've ever read, even the ones I liked. Like his Hulk had some good spots in it. I'll give it up for parts of his Deadpool that I've read had probably some of the strongest character work I've seen with that particular character in a long time.
He wrote that Doctor Strange Best Defense issue, and that was actually legit really good.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. That was fantastic.
Yeah, his first couple issues of Conan, Savage Sword of Conan weren't bad, but I feel like a few issues in, they've kind of lost their way. He's got 1 issue left in this arc, so we'll see if he turns it around.
Okay. But I just don't feel like I'm getting a good return on my investment with Jerry Duggan comics. It is what it is. It's just me, you know, and maybe it's not just me, but it's at least my perspective. In terms of the art, like, I didn't outright hate it or anything like that. I love Deodato. And he didn't do some of his normal stuff like making Conan's hands literally as big as his head. Which, let's face it, Conan is exactly the type of character that Lemire could, Lemire, that Deodato could easily do that with. And in fact, I think he did it with Scar, Son of Hulk, which is basically just Conan with green skin from space. But if in a lot of ways it felt more restrained than typical Deodato art, and that's fine. It also kind of made me feel like maybe he was just trying to squeeze one more paycheck out of Marvel before he exits stage left to go draw a different Barbarian, a Dark Horse comic with Jeff Lemire. I don't know. No judgment. No judgment. He's still one of my favorite artists, but the continuity in this book is an absolute debacle. Somebody just gave Jerry Duggan carte blanche to take whatever characters he wants in whatever form and context without any regard for anything else that's going on in the Marvel Universe and said, have fun. Just do it. It didn't work for me. This is not a comic that is geared for me, and I accept that. But what I don't accept is editorial at Marvel not giving a shit about things that matter, like adequately representing the other things that are going on in the line in the books, because I think that does a disservice and a disrespect to the writers of those books. It's basically saying, stay in your lane. and that's just not cool. So,
The readers too. It's
the readers too. Absolutely.
It's not great as a reader. It makes you feel like books you read from month to month don't matter in the larger scheme of things, which is unfortunate.
It is, absolutely. So anyway, nope, didn't like Savage Avengers. Not going to recommend it. Not going to read issue 2. Cody, over to you.
Same. No recommendation for me. It's the worst Deodato art I've ever seen, and that's still, like I said, better than a lot of people. But the dialogue was bad, the art was bad, the lineup was bad, the story was bad. I did not like anything about this. The lettering was fine.
Lettering 10 out of 10. It's a 3.0.
That's kind of like that old film criticism. Well, the camera was in focus.
Right.
I didn't notice any weird
like when
sounds.
you have to go see your friends play and the play is terrible and you look at them at the end, they're like, "What'd you think?" And you're like, "The sets were neat." Yeah.
It was lit really adequately.
I heard everything. Yes. So I mean So that's 3 spotlights. That's 3 drastically different books. So that's kind of fun. Why don't we kick it over to B to start off? What did you read last week? Oh no, I've been told.
He's got someone in his office.
What?
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, because I just kicked him out.
No, why don't you catch us up on what you've been reading over the last, I don't know, anything that you've read in the last couple of weeks, because we haven't seen you in like a month.
Yeah,
and
almost a month.
If there's anything that you're excited about coming out this week, next week, sometime in the future, I don't know, whatever you want, man.
So the cool thing that I was just thinking about right now was, one, I don't want to read any of the books that you guys just reviewed. So good job on persuading readers not to read at least the first 2. I'm kind of interested in the DCeased one, but I kind of, when you guys were talking about it, I looked over the art real quick. That's going to be a game killer for me. I don't like it. It looks very kind of straight from the 90s, almost kind of, or early 2000s almost. What I haven't had time to actually read anything, so I can't say that I have read anything since the last time I've been on the show. I am looking forward to going to the Saturday's new free comic book day just to kind of see what they have. I'll probably get a couple of trades or something like that. But I haven't been able to keep up with the continuity and the weekly reviews recently. So I don't actually know what's going on. Like on the side chat that we have over here, I was actually trying to catch up at the same time. I was like, has Heroes in Crisis ended? Captain America's in jail? What the hell? Last time I heard, he was arrested. So unfortunately, I'm not completely caught up in everything. So I can't tell you what I'm looking forward to. I did review the list and I was like, I am so far behind, I don't know. But I will definitely be telling you guys next week what I'll be looking for, what I read and what I'll be looking forward to. And I probably should go see Avengers at some point. I think we're going to do a review on it here. I think me and Cody are the last of the Mohicans on that one. Matt, what have you been reading and what are you looking forward to reading?
So, drum roll please, Cody. I finally got the last issues I needed on my Christopher Priest Deathstroke run. So hell yes, I've been tearing into the professional. Yes! Love that. Now, I didn't realize this, but there's a character in there called Red Lion in a situation in a fictional African country that Deathstroke is involved in that actually crossed over indirectly with Priest's Justice League of America, which he was writing at the time. So, or had been writing pre-Rebirth, excuse me.
It was after that. Yeah.
Was it? Okay, I got a little lost in the timeline.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read
run was like 3 or 4 months after.
Stuff. And it
was the last arc before Snyder rebooted Justice League.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. So many reboots, so little time to remember.
Worth noting, he created or launched Red Lion while Black Panther was in the theaters.
That's awesome.
Like there is no accident there.
No,
like,
no,
he has some kind of critique.
Priest
right?
knows exactly what he's doing. And that's what I love about him as a writer is every detail is just so painstaking and deliberate. Awesome. What I'm looking forward to, God, what did I have picked out for this movie? Oh, well, actually, I'm going to go back to one that came out this week because we sort of got, when we switched forward from doing last week's book to this week's, we sort of indirectly skipped a week. But DC is finally collecting Garth Ennis and John McCrae's classic comic from the 90s, Hitman. And the new Hitman Volume 1 comes out, I believe it came out this week. So, if
I understand right, it's not a like full like omnibus type release. Like they picked out the greatest hits.
Oh, did they? Oh,
yeah, so
that's kind of lame.
Yeah, so I mean it's cool, and it's it's going to introduce a whole bunch of new fans to Hitman that probably weren't alive last time Hitman was in a comic, but
right. This makes me sad. I'm not going to lie to you.
He was in a comic in the late 90s, maybe.
Yeah, these damn kids. They don't know what good.
Yeah, but if you're 18 years old, you weren't alive in the late 90s. Think on that for a second.
I don't want
to either. I think in this group, I'm the one closest to 40, so I'll think on it even less than you guys. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Detective Comics 1003 comes out next week. Yeah. And that story has really surprised me. So
who do you guys think the Arkham Knight is?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
my guess is Heretic.
I'm 100% behind you on that. Like that's a really solid guess.
Oh, you know what's gonna piss me off? If it's Hush. Because it's always Hush, damn it. We don't know what to do with this guy, but everyone loves him. No, they don't. So anyway, yeah, I've really been enjoying this story. Took me a little while to get used to the art. But with Damian Wayne in this current arc, this really feels like a return to Peter Tomasi's old Batman and Robin series, which was awesome. Great fun. So, yeah, Detective Comics, Batman, every damn day. JJ, what about you?
For what I've been reading, I went to the LCS on Sunday, and my buddy Brian was loading up the 10 for $1 box. And so I kind of tore through the fresh 10 for $1 box and bought 35 back issues for $3.50. So out of that, let's see, I got the Team Titans 96 Elseworlds annual. So I read that. It actually, guess what though? Guess who did the art? Deodato Jr.
So this was back in the 90s when he was kind of like a bad Jim Lee clone.
Yep, exactly. And I got Carnage by Zeb Wells and Clayton Crane from 2012, which was the precursor to Carnage USA, which I read as a prequel to the Web of Venom Cult of Carnage issue, going back to Web of Venom. And so I read the Zeb Wells and Clayton Crane Carnage mini, which was not terrible, actually. Carnage USA was better, but together they actually make a decent little, 10 issues. And there is a mini after that I haven't read. I'm going to read that one on Marvel Unlimited at some point, and then I'll have read everything with Carnage in it from the last 10 years or so. In the interest of being all on top of things when this Carnage event starts in the summer. So I've been reading a lot of Carnage stuff. As for what I'm looking forward to, this week had the trade paperback release for Ahoy Comics Another Earth, which I've been very interested in reading. And so I'm going to be getting that trade paperback probably Saturday because my shop does a discount on Free Comic Book Day. It was on the shelf when I went today, but I didn't have the money. I'll be getting that. Another Earth, the trade paperback. I couldn't find the singles except for the first one, so it should be fun. Some more multiverse stuff. Multiverse. What about you, Cody?
So yeah, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to read this past week. Today I spent most of my morning catching up on last week's books, which was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag. I got caught up on War of the Realms today, and the mixed bag. I don't know how else to put it. Flash was not good, as per fucking usual. Things I'm looking forward to, though, like what I'm most looking forward to, May 14th sees the release of the hardcover 6 Days, the Lost Chapter of, Lost Chapter of D-Day? The Incredible Story of D-Day's Lost Chapter. So it's a story from Robert Venditti about a group of 82nd Airborne troopers, true story, that landed 19 miles away from their drop zone. And the story of what their part in the Battle of D-Day was. And of course, like I was/am, you're never not a soldier, right? So I'm a soldier. I have family that fought at D-Day. And I have a keen interest in World War II history. Like this book was made for me. It's just got pushed out to a lot of press last night, actually, like in the middle of the night. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up to pee. Checked my phone, had an email, got excited, and started looking at it. It looks amazing. I think it's going to be really fantastic. It's going to be a $30 MSRP, $29.99 for this hardcover original graphic novel from DC's Vertigo imprint. This looks like the project that Venditti has been dying to do for a long time. Anybody that's read any of his work knows the incredible amount of research he puts into every role. Like every book he writes, his Hawkman, it's like he's read every Hawkman issue. I imagine his X-O Man is exactly the same. His Freedom Fighters is incredible, very well researched.
So you're saying that he respects continuity?
Weird, right? I know.
Weird and weirdly topical.
Right? It's a dying breed. So I expect that he has done a ton of homework on this, tons of research, and it's going to be a really accurate, really well done book. They only printed 3,000 copies, I believe, was what the press release said. So if you have the chance, grab it now and have your first printing to hang on to when this thing becomes a hit 10 years down the line. Like, let's be honest, it's not going to be a hit tomorrow. You know, it's not going to be the most sought after thing in July. But eventually people are going to be talking about this book as one of those historic books. I really think so. And stay tuned. I should have my review up within the week. So before release, I guess it'll be spoiler free. It's historical. You can Google it and read about it. I don't know what kind of spoilers there could be there. But I'm looking forward to reviewing it. I have a good feeling that this is going to get pretty high marks. And I think that's it for our show. Brian, can you close us out? Do you remember how to do it?
I think so. Let's give it a try. All right. As always, you can check us out at Comic Watch Facebook. Also, are we still Sea Watchers Show at Twitter? All right. You can also check us out on SoundCloud, iPod or iTunes podcast, and Spotify. You can at the Comic Watchers Show. You can always check us out at www.comic-watch.com. All right, I think this is it for this week. Bye.
We're so happy to have you back.